Hi everyone! In this new devlog, I have progressed with the inventory and equipment system. On the other hand, I have worked on the character to import it to Unreal, and finally, and of course, more changes in the UI for the inventory. So let's get started! One of the improvements I made this week in the UI is the camera system along with the item information display. The system is broken down in two steps. Once you access the inventory, the category navigation is activated, and then you can navigate through the different categories with the D-pad of the controller. When selecting a category with the cross button, the items of that category are displayed and automatically show the information of the first item. During this process, the camera system moves to leave the character to the right of the screen, so we can read the information of the item and the character doesn't distract us. As long as there are items in the inventory, we can navigate freely with our controller and access the information of each item quickly. When returning to the category bar, the camera system will return to focus on the player and hide the item information. On the other hand, each weapon group has its own animations, to make it more unique and more fun when choosing our weaponry. So far, the weapon groups are a one-handed weapon, can be a sword or an axe, weapon with shield, one-handed firearm, firearm with a sword, dual-wield weapons, or two-handed weapons. When we equip a different group of weapons, the different animations are activated. As you could see, when the equipped group is a single weapon, the character returns to T-pose, because I haven't set yet the animations for that group. These are the most noticeable improvements this week, but as we will see later in the video, new user experience issues will lead to new design changes. On the other hand, I advanced a little more with the integration of the character in UE4. For rigging, I use an add-on called Uefy 2. I'll leave the link in the description if you want to take a look. The add-on is great because it creates skeletons compatible with the UE4 mannequin. However, all the weight painting is still a process that may need a lot of manual adjustments, especially if the character is complex or there are different levels of clothing or accessories. As for the weight painting, I always use as reference the UE4 mannequin. I created a file where I can see each bone and the influence it has, which is very useful to have a correct deformation during animations. I'll leave the link to my reference file in case you want to download it. It's totally free. Once I finished painting the weights, I imported the character to UE4, and I ran into a problem that seems to be quite common: the feet floating or below the ground level. This problem is usually given because the capsule position is wrong. In my case, it only happened with certain animations, so I thought that maybe the animations had some issues. But when I checked the original ones with the mannequin, everything was fine. I tried to fix it by modifying the animations with additive layers, changing the position of the root, but that didn't solve the problem either. Finally, what fixed the issue was to export the animations as FBX and report them again with the proper skeleton instead of doing the retarget. Curiously, that fixed the root position problem. I wanted to share it because it's a problem that has given me a lot of headaches, so you can try the solution if you find yourself in the same situation. The next step will be to texture the character and split the meshes to make it possible to equip different armors and clothing. Finally, I ran into a user experience problem when I wanted to unequip items. Until now, we couldn't unequip. The system only allowed to replace when equipping a new item. But in case we don't have other items, we can't unequip using the replacement technique. We could think, well, if we don't have better weapons, why are we going to unequip and be unprotected? Well, the thing is, in the game, you will be able to collect and sell your items to buy new ones, food or potions. So it may be the case that you temporarily need to sell your equipment to buy other things. In the new design, there is an equipment section where you can unequip items. Now, when you enter the inventory, the navigation of categories is activated by default. So if we use the D-pad to move, I think it would be very confusing to allow keep moving and jumping to the equipment section. For that reason, I came up with the idea of adding a sub-navigation, so when you choose inventory or equipment, the movement is limited only to the buttons available in that subsection. The solution seems to be quite elegant and doesn't require much more interaction. What do you think? You can leave your comments below. And that was all the progress of the week. I hope you liked it. As always, thank you very much for watching and see you next week.